Sitting in the air.
That's for what do you do?
I don't know anything about taxes, you know that. From this market, you know.
I'm not a big care.
Toy Story. Farmers market and.
Is that?
Well, so there's. I'm not competing. And street works, I think is one word. And some more. That should have more than just one. Frank, so. Frank's farms.
I don't remember. It's not like that.
Am I just?
Right there.
We're just doing that smoky signal.
Oh, okay, I was very, like, waiting to know when to go.
Yes, I have the worst ADHD. I've got to.
Okay, we're going to start this meeting of the Syracuse City Council work session. Welcome, everybody. The first item on our agenda tonight is public comment. This is the chance for the public to address the council. You may be wanting to bring up something that we haven't talked about and we need to in the future. Just to let everybody know that during public comment, we are not in a position to respond to you because of the Open and Public Meetings Act. So this is comment only, not question. If your comments regard an item that is later on our agenda, we can address it then. Do I have any public comments tonight?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir. Identify yourself with name and address.
Okay. My name is Michael Spires. I live at 2336 West, 1750 South in Syracuse. And my comments tonight refer to the potential commercial rezoning of the property just south of Antelope Drive.
Okay.
So I appreciate the opportunity to come here and talk about rezoning. As an administrative note, we did not receive any kind of notice or postcard in the mail. So just for future reference for that.
This is a work session, so you wouldn't. It would be when there's a public hearing or when there's a vote.
All right, then I take that. Anyway, I propose that the city does not rezone the land to be commercial unless and until we have a bona fide plan for that actual property. Zoning commercial would take away, without any kind of a clear plan, it's going to take away any intelligent decision making by the city council or the zoning commission on what can go into that property. It basically opens up and allows for anything to come into that business, and it might take away from your city plans, your future vision for this kind of this kind of property. I know that the city does have some kind of an overlay currently versus what might be proposed. And if you go commercial, that overlay is gone again to the whims of whatever business wants to put in there. Any kind of drive-throughs, any kind of telephone parking lots, anything like that. So I think without any kind of a bona fide plan, The city is just opening itself up to whatever any kind of business decides, not letting the city dictate what its vision is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a public comment? Yes, sir.
I'm his neighbor to the east. My name is Tracy Holcomb, 2324 West, 1750 South. And I'm not going too long, support what he's saying. It's support for the community to have certain types of businesses. We don't want certain types coming in, especially in an area like that. So, thank you for his statement.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. And I don't see any online, so at that point, I will close public comment. We will move on to, who's your group for you?
I don't think so. I'm not sure that's.
Okay, so we're gonna postpone item C, and see if,
I'm against them.
okay, we'll see. So we'll postpone item C and move on to item D. Item D is a discussion regarding the sale development of city-owned land at 3000 West Nanwood Drive. What you'll see in the packet is we have received a proposal from CW Land. They are interested in negotiating with the city to develop this property. They have a layout that they're proposing, and what they're looking for from the city is some kind of agreement to go forward so that they can market this to potential businesses that would fit our criteria. Now, this is we're not going to settle this tonight, but this is the head nod to say, yes, we would like to continue to negotiate what the terms would be of the sale of this land to be developed in this fashion. Now, one of the things that interests the CW Land is they have taken over the project that was formerly known as Monterey West across from Syracuse Arts Academy North. And in that, there is a binding clause that they have to provide a hotel over on 2000. There has not been interest in a hotel on 2000. No legitimate interest is surfaced. So in this negotiation, we would propose that we would release them from that obligation and hold them accountable for putting the hotel on this property, which we believe as a city, we've talked about for years, is much more conducive to the interests of the city because it is actually on Antelope Drive where all the traffic going out to Antelope Island would be a part of it. It's next to the golf course. It's next to what would be our future business area. So there's a lot of pros. In this negotiation, we have talked about the fact that the city would like to have some say in what these businesses are, at least some approval. So it's not like just anything, but we also, Brody and I, when we met with them to hear what their interests were, talked about the fact that we wouldn't be too confining. It wouldn't be like, if it's not Chick-fil-A and Chick-fil-A, we're not going there. So it wouldn't be that restrictive. It would just simply be that we would have some approval. And we've already talked about the quality of the hotel being one of the approval things. Now, I will tell you that the day that I met with them recently, I had also visited a business expo and received considerable interest from some of the businesses that are looking to relocate to this area. So we do have significant interest, including in a hotel that would, I think, meet the city standards. So all that said, the question is, I also preface this by saying that we had talked about months ago putting this out to RFP, but we've entertained offers as well. All the offers that we've had included a lot of multifamily housing, which we turned down. So this is not that. Would we entertain this offer? Council.
One thing I wanted to bring up is I would not be releasing them. I would propose a modification of the agreement to allow this site.
Okay, fine.
I
misworded that.
To
That
relieve
wasn't their
anyone
words.
from an obligation that was agreed upon.
In place of putting this one in place, yeah.
Right,
Okay.
including the hotel being, the portion of the agreement where the hotel had to be completed before they could do.
Yeah.
codifying.
I think that would be acceptable because we
I
do
think we'd
have,
have to keep that portion.
Totally agree.
Okay.
That's why it's a modification now.
Yes.
okay. Any other comments? Jen,
This is so much away from what everybody wanted it away from. If someone complains about this, I might have an argument with them. This is literally the only place that you could put a hotel without everybody screaming that it's next to something. So I'm okay with that.
I think actually better than that, I think this puts it closer to things we'd like a golf course. Well, for example, if we
For
want,
example,
we
golf.
want it close to, like, for example, the golf course.
the
This
freeway.
also puts it closer to the freeway, this puts it closer to, Antelope Island. Antelope Island is frequently requested that we put in some type
Yeah.
of, places for people to stay, guest accommodations. This also gets in some restaurants that hopefully the people at this hotel would then frequent these restaurants and, have a mutually beneficial relationship. I think this is a win-win-win all around, and it still allows that, previous development to complete their thing without putting something that would possibly obstruct a better thing in the location where it's currently designated to go.
So now that, can I finish?
Go for it.
You did the big picture. I was thinking more of how our citizens feel about it and where the placement of it was originally. And this is what I believe would make them happier. And I'm more concerned with them than our tourists. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Fair. So more winning. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the type of, in my mind, this is the type of commercial developments we want to see surrounding that interchange. I think this is spot on what we need that.
So I say it's good.
Yeah, I agree with
I mean, we can't vote tonight, but
No, we're not, but, so they're here and I'll just tell you that we'll continue to negotiate on a future vote. So, great, wonderful, thank you.
Brett, do you have anything?
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Oh, his head, so I just thought we were good, all right.
I
All
know
right.
I always said can't hear it now.
Let's move on to, the planning 50items. The first is the recommended, planning commission zoning map amendment to the property located at 2250 West and Antelope Drive. Residential agricultural R1A1 to general commercial. We did have public comment regarding this property, so Noah, what would you like to tell us before we begin discussion?
Sure, I don't have a lot to add. Maybe just to go off what the gentleman audience was asking about in the public hearing. We did actually hold a public hearing at Planning Commission last time. As far as I understand, we sent out postcards, but we send them out to people within 300 feet of the property boundary. So maybe if he, even though he's on that street, maybe he's outside of that, maybe he's not. I'd be happy to investigate why he didn't get a
let's
postcard.
take a look at it because they are very close to this property.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened. I know that, I know 100% that there was a sign on there, and then we posted.
I saw the sign.
There is a sign.
Okay, this is not public comment.
But yeah, we certainly want to make sure everybody that's interested in following along knows about it and all that. So, but we did have a public hearing at Planning Commission. They had some similar debate items. They still recommended to approve this, but it was a split vote, 5-2.
Okay.
And, but yeah, I don't really have a lot to add as far as the arguments, but everything, the staff report's on page 11.
Okay. Council.
I agree with the citizens that I think anytime we can get some type of idea what's going in there. I mean, I think we all have the intention of going commercial, but I think, holding that, well, until we can get some type of idea of how it's gonna lay out, I think is a better choice of zoning powers.
Okay.
I would agree with that. Obviously, there's no requirement for them to provide something, but there's no requirement that we change the zoning either unless we're,
Correct.
have a compelling.
That's how politics works.
There, so, yeah, I would like to see what the vision is for that before we do a
Okay.
change.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Okay.
Is there something in the mix right now?
Not that we're aware of.
The applicant's in the room if you choose to call on them, but
Well, I think that we ought to let them submit, because that's what would be the public notification element of it.
Yeah, the planning commission, they didn't have any really.
Okay,
didn't
so-
mention these.
we ask all developers if they have something to submit, that they do it. So until we have it a public record, then I'm not acknowledging anything on the
And they
spot.
can come do like, hey, this is what we're thinking,
Yes,
we
they can.
have that option.
We do have that as well. So not seeing any support for this, I am not gonna move it forward to the next voting meeting. Or
Well,
does it have to?
They
be
actually
turned in?
applied for it, so they're owed a decision even if it's a no.
Okay, then we'll put it on the next, but it doesn't look positive. If, in the next packet, before we submit, they want to submit something that would be considered, then that would be new information that we would consider, but it has to make the packet. Because the public is owed that same information, in my opinion, and that's what we've stuck with. Okay, so item number 2, recommendation from the Planning Commission zoning amendment for property located at 2024-19 and 2700 residential R1 to residential R3. This is quite a small property. Anything you want to add here? It looks like somebody wants to divide it just in half.
Yep, their corner lot, they want to get another lot into it, planning commission. Yeah. planning
It
commission.
is,
We just did the same thing on the other side of the road, didn't we, just what, last year?
Mhm.
And this equals that out, and it's on the same spot, and that second area of their lot is just wasted space, and if any of you have been over there, they don't use that space at all, it's just a catch-all, so it would actually probably make it way more improved.
Yeah,
Any other
planning
thoughts?
commission had a public hearing, the forwarding recommendation.
was it,
Unanimous.
okay, any other thoughts, council?
I never liked doing islands, but as we've said before, as soon as everything around it is already gone,
It's not an island.
that's where I was going with that. Yes, you're correct. Not an island, it's at the lines of the zoning is adjacent. And across the way, and I see this area is showing much the same way, so I'm not opposed to it.
I would just throw out that my only real concern on these kind of things is that we maintain recent setbacks so that we don't have sightline issues. It appears that that's taken care of here, but that is something that concerns me when we do these.
Where it is a corner, it makes it easier because the houses, it looked like it would be facing across the way is already of similar size. I think the neighbors would have a greater difficulty because that would create a flag lot, so
Yeah,
unless there's a large development going in the rest of it, I don't see a big risk of this creating a waterfall.
I don't have any concerns with this.
okay. All right, so I will move this.
good.
Right.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move.
I
this
care about your
forward for voting.
opinion, okay?
Item number 3, applicant initiated text amendment from Syracuse City Code, chapter 10-35-40 pertaining to daycare regulations. There's been lots of discussion on this. Colin, did you want to weigh in on this? Because I want to be careful that we know what is law.
There was a statute that was adopted a couple of years ago, that takes the ability of cities and counties, makes them unable to restrict licensing and registration certificates. They leave that up to the state. What we're proposing, well, what is proposed here does not interfere with that statute, and I think that was our concern.
All right.
So, green light from the statutory. Okay, Rick?
Okay.
I can see it's gonna be a fun night. All right. Any other discussion here? So the question comes into play whether the city should modify their city code. The state recently modified their code. I have to say, I read lots of different versions of this. It is very specific about the state's code is not as simplified as one diagram like this was initiated as. The state talks about ages of the individuals involved. You can't, and this is where I'm concerned, is that we have to make sure that we don't alter. We can't overdo the state code. I mean, we can't undo the state code, I guess is the way to say it. So to be careful there. Now, the easy way out on some of these is to say that we match the state code, but again, we have to be able to enforce that.
To a certain extent, that's what this is doing. Currently, you can have a maximum of 8 kids with 1 employee. But the state rule, and that's one thing I'll point out in the text of what was in the packet, it says something like state code or something like that, and we want to change that to DHHS rule, which is
Department of Health and Human Services.
thank you. And so basically, under certain circumstances, if the kids are the right age, we could have 2 more kids, so there'll be a total of 10 kids for 1 kid.
My concern is who regulates that, because you could say, somebody could say, oh, no, I'm just doing this, but it makes it easy when we don't have to worry about ages at any given time.
It makes it more complicated for sure, but every daycare has a business license and they also have fire inspection. So there is regulation. We are trying to stay on top of it the best we can.
I know there was some concern from the licensing department about making it if we just reference the state, that we don't have anywhere to direct people, because it seems like even people applying for this sometimes don't understand exactly what it is.
Yeah, if you just open it up like, oh yeah, just match the state, that I think the applicants still need to understand where the parameters are. And I think what's proposed in the packet is supported by the business licensing status.
How do we feel about this? I'm not opposed to us being, I mean, in childcare, I'm not opposed to having regulations that we have more staff instead of less staff, because
In this instance, these are her children, correct?
no,
Initials, no?
none of that, no.
So there is one daycare that is kind of driving this, but this would be a rule that would apply to
Agreed.
all daycares. But we did hold a public hearing. She was at the last meeting. I don't know if she's
Because the,
today, but
wasn't the driving issue is that you get a maximum number and then you have a kid that starts school. And so if that kid needs to come back to
In the
daycare for
day.
summer or during breaks or things like that,
Mhm.
that daycare can't take a previous student that's started school.
yeah, with daycare being
But
as
that
hard
would-
to find as it is, the state rules meant to just add a little bit more flexibility during summertime.
But you allow it to 2 additional is like older children, not,
School age, yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I'm
that's what I'm
saying.
saying.
And that's because if
that's
they're
what
on
I'm talking-
break or if they're in
Because one
summer,
thought they
yeah.
were like, not little.
Well, they're
Like
5. That's
5 and 6,
Right.
yeah.
But once they start
Or first grade.
school,
Yeah,
then the parents still need someone to be able to take them during like summer and
I know, but
breaks.
when I read this, I thought it was like something from 8 to 11, not
What
like
age to
5.
11-year-old needs
It's fine.
daycare?
It's 5 to
They're the ones doing babysitting. See, this is why we
It's 5
have
to
to sit
12.
down for a little.
5 to 12.
So it'd be kindergarten.
So I guess, is there any type of data that says what is and I know in leadership courses, they always say there's your ability to effectively manage, you can effectively manage 5 to 7 people or something like
That's
that.
a frontal lobe cortex
Yeah,
scenario
how
for
many
each
fingers and
individual
toes do you
person.
have?
on
I
one
mean,
scenario.
I guess at what point is a single caregiver overwhelmed?
Well, I mean, and
That's
this
a
doesn't
frontal
include
lobe
their own
cortex
children,
Scenario.
which
Yeah.
can increase the numbers to up to 16.
Well, that's why they have the ages in there, because younger kids require more.
I can handle 2, max. She can probably handle 7. So it depends on your frontal lobe cortex.
Well, I am concerned that,
Can we add that?
With the tree person also. Sorry, go ahead.
Never mind, sorry.
I am concerned that, especially with the youngest, I mean, infants and toddlers, you just can't get overwhelmed with too many. How do you watch that many kids?
I don't know. That is a good question.
Yeah, there are impacts to consider, as far as whether or not a person can actually handle it and, whether or not there's increased traffic. A lot of
Again,
these-
I don't know the number. I don't think I could make an informed decision on this with the data I'm given.
Planning Commission did hold a public hearing and they debated this, and they're forwarding a recommendation for approval. But if you guys want me to find some more data, I'm not sure what data you're after.
I would like what the attorney says.
Well, I thought we were following the state of Utah's
That's
They
what-
allow it, yeah.
licensing.
Okay, I'm willing to fall back on the state on this
Yeah,
one.
it's not like you're going outside of what the state allows.
I
Yeah.
think if the state of Utah allows it, then that person
You know,
Yeah,
they're
these
gonna find
guys
out real
are
quick.
for-
If anything, the older kids will
Old
help take
PD.
care of the younger kids.
Yeah,
But we're-
five-year-old,
Right.
that's the question.
No, I know, yeah.
My 5-year-old absolutely did. I mean, not by herself, yet, but
Okay,
I feel like the people who are petitioning this are people who are in fact able and capable of handling such a scenario. Like this does not, nor will ever apply to me because I'm not capable of it, but these folks are, and they're good at what they do, so. Like it's, you know,
I think the fact that we're following what the state regulations are, I think that's,
I can,
I don't want to throw a monkey.
go ahead.
Don't want to throw a monkey in your wrench, but please note this. The state license that was issued, and I assume this is language on all licenses, says local ordinances may further. Yeah, classes, please.
we all understand.
Local ordinances may further limit your maximum allowed capacity. So even though the state says you can have 8 littles, 2 school-age kids, the license itself says the local government can restrict that number back down.
Right.
So.
but the state is still comfortable with that.
Exactly.
We just can't go above what the state says 10, we can't say, oh yeah, we think we could probably.
I'm okay aligning it with, since there is that age restriction.
Okay, so let's let you go.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, I think from the city council's purview, this is really more of a, kind of a land use decision more than a child safety decision. The state will regulate, you know, what's allowed for child safety. The issues here are more how many children, which is how many cars do you want dropping off kids in the morning and in the
Well,
afternoon?
that's,
In a
okay, so
neighborhood.
at most, that's what, 10? You got 10 cars in the morning and 10 cars at night, I think that's handleable, but it's more of the screaming children that I would be concerned about throughout the day.
Yeah, things like that.
In our
Noise
current
ordinances.
ordinance,
I got a midship roommate.
it already has, hours of outdoor playtime. It's in the ordinance already.
Yeah.
I think it's
For
what-
daycare.
For daycare. I forget what it is, but it's in the packet. It's like 8 to.
Not exceed 18.
As far as that goes, I think this is reasonable.
Okay. Does everybody feel like we're ready to vote on this?
Yes.
Okay, all right, that moves on to the next meeting. Number 4, review and discuss proposed interlocal agreement pertaining to building inspection services. This is pertaining to the new state law.
Yeah, this is one of those things where we're just trying to meet the state law. We haven't been one of those cities that's the guilty party, but, some cities out there are taking a lot longer than 3 days to get their inspections done. So they're required to give a kind of relief valve. Cities, you know, if there's a builder out there that's not getting their inspection, the state requires that the city comes up with a list of third-party inspectors, and the city has to pay for that inspector to come if they can't get their inspection done within 3 days. So our city and building official is working with the surrounding cities. We've got this interlocal agreement, because they all have certified inspectors. It actually saves the city some money because it's rather than contracting with like a private inspection companies, they're just the other cities. And so we just agreed to kind of help each other out. We won't charge any money as far as when it's needed.
So with this, they still have to come to us first.
Yes.
Yeah, if there's somebody that has an inspection and spend 3 days, yeah, we provide them with that list and say, well, you're welcome to. Probably since.
What I understood as well.
I'm just gonna make this comment that doesn't leverage the voting, but honestly, they have attacked inspections several times in the last 4 years. And we've never had an issue. I mean, we've always got them done on time. So somewhere out there is a pain point in Utah where inspections are not getting done, but it has not been our problem. Okay, I'm gonna forward this. It sounds like we have agreement. Okay, discussion regarding rear lot secondary water service conversions. Okay, we have brought this up before, but I will let Robert preface this.
So we have 670 houses that have their secondary water main connection in their backyard. That was installed when the system was first installed in 1984. So the council gave us support, a couple of years ago. I met with council here in a work session, and council gave support for us to start when we have construction projects, and the roads open up anyway, just to start stubbing water services to their front yards. None of them have connected the front yards yet, but the stubs are there in some areas, and we can continue doing that. There are problems with having the services in the backyards. Listed that here. A lot of it is undersized mains. They're hard to get to, and we don't actually see them when they're flooding someone else.
I would say dogs.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, no.
So it is easier to maintain them when they're in the front yard hardship. So we're doing meter conversions for the secondary water. And in doing that, we don't want to spend time and money putting these in people's backyards if we're already planning on working on getting them into the front yards. There are so what I want to talk about is maybe just some logistics in doing some of that. There are some neighborhoods that are already kind of ready to go. Not many, but there are some. And what we're thinking as far as logistics is allow them to go through this water season. Not all 670, but the ones that are kind of ready to go and the ones that will be in construction this summer. And then give them notice probably like about now, this time frame. So it gives them a full year to know that their secondary water connection will move to the front yard, and the backyard will mainly be not in use next irrigation season. So it would allow them plenty of notice. Then the other part to this is just what it would cost, and kind of the financial burden it would put on the residents to route sprinkler pipe from backyard to the front yard to the region. So we don't really want to take that liability on as a city to go into people's backyards and dig around their sheds, trees, fences, whatever they've got in the way, and then replace landscapes the way they like it. So probably the easiest way would be to allow the residents to do it themselves. And some that we have talked to have been very excited about, I want to connect to the bigger main, it's not better pressure, better service, I love it, I'm excited about it, I'll do it on my own as soon as I can. So we've got some feedback that way. I haven't got any negative feedback, but we haven't really polled people, So what I don't want is to have you all deal with problems with residents coming up with, now I got to run this sprinkler
And I
pipe
have
from the
had-
back to the front.
I have had those already, so not a lot, but the idea of the city is going to impose a big cost on them because I'll have to now reroute my sprinkler.
It's absolutely
And
true.
it's not the city, it's the state. Like, let's be honest, like, they're the ones putting it in there. Like, we have to put these all in. Because
Yeah, that's right. And the state's not, the state doesn't care if it's in the backyard front yard.
Yeah,
We do. This is kind of more of a little bit more of like a city. We just don't want to waste the money to put in the backyard if we can just spend the money wisely, put it in the front yard, and then allow better service for the residents.
I think mine's in the back.
Oh, mine's in the, wasn't. Can you determine which ones like are safe to access and which ones aren't and just do those?
Wow.
I think they already figured that was like 600.
They don't want to,
I don't
you're maintaining two
Of
mains.
607. Some of them will be accessible without a
So-
problem.
If we've got
No.
funds that we could offer a reimbursement,
No, you don't.
could we just, for
okay,
those that,
one discussion please for the
for
resident.
those that want to There might be some people who just do it on their own and don't really care, like Robert said, but those
There's
that
grant money.
are hitting a financial burden, we could have a process where they could submit for reimbursement.
This is right here
So,
with the
yes.
grant funding to pay the homeowners.
There
to
is
convert their services to
grant funding
credit card.
available, and, it would cost, less than what we expected just to install the meter grid if we offered grant money to residents who have that situation. Now, whether you want to set criteria to that, for which ones do, which ones don't, or if you want to just do a flat lump sum amount, whether they need it or not. I guess that's what the nice thing is you have options, and what would you?
So what would, my question is, what would it cost, or what would we, if we decided on grant funding to pay them back? In case of $2,200, I wonder if we could contract a company for $2,200 a yard or $2,000 a yard to just.
Again, now the liability's on the city.
Well,
They're a contractor.
yeah,
Well, is there enough grant money?
What
to
I'd
use?
be
or get a
curious.
company that would contract with the homeowners individually, but I know the set price for it.
Does this grant money take away from other funds that we need the grant money for? I mean, is this separate from the water meter grant?
This is part of
This
it.
is the water meter grant
This is
stuff.
but we
Any
have,
money you spend here, you're not spending.
we built that into this stuff too. And
So
It's saying.
I believe I remember us talking about this.
I guess I'm trying to figure out, I mean, what is in that $2,200, because, a trencher for an hour and the pipe is not $2,200. They're really that much labor and both.
Hey, you're longer than an hour, bro.
the tough thing with trying to get bids is you're asking contractors to bid on something that they can't literally see. And there's so many different
Mhm.
situations.
Going
Sure,
under sheds,
generally, they probably
around
think worst
trees.
case scenario, maybe they gotta work under fences or around sheds or tree roots or whatever.
I guess I would say up to,
It's probably.
I don't think you. do
Not
under
everyone's gonna be
2,200.
$2,200.
Right.
It would be an up to, and it would be a reimbursement of actual expenses incurred. Up to,
So, but who is monitoring those
Yeah.
reimbursement requests?
If somebody comes in and says, I did it myself, I charge $1,000 an hour.
Steve just volunteered. Okay.
I mean,
You know-
it's something we can put. as a
Money guy.
in place.
The money guy.
Yeah, you create a reimbursement form, they would submit their contractors or their Home Depot receipts. You would assume that it's for that project, but the bottom line is, the next secondary water season,
that,
they
Rear
gotta
main
have
is
it
off.
in, or it's turned off, and they
Yeah.
don't get water.
That would be my preference, is to have us, that people know about it and they can submit for reimbursement up to X amount of dollars. And if somebody does it on their own and doesn't submit for reimbursement, then they're okay with it, but if there's those that need it, it's available.
I agree. But I do think we are I hate unfunded mandates. And so I think this is very reasonable to, if we're going to make a change that affects them, because they're worse now, I'll just say, look, your benefit to you is you're gonna get better water pressure, but the bad part is if you don't do it, you don't get secondary water next year. I think it's pretty reasonable to say, look, we're gonna reimburse you for this.
But we're gonna have to have the criteria spelled out, like
We are.
not
we'll
paying for
reimburse
homeowner
This is
labor.
only for the labor for the pipe and the pit, not any other landscaping you plan on doing.
Well, we have to limit we'd have to somehow categorize the limit of expenses, so that we're not putting in fish ponds or.
That's what I said, this is,
Yeah.
it's the pipe and the pit, and that's it,
The materials,
the materials.
or if you contract it out, it would probably use the labor cost.
Yeah.
But this is not any
But if you,
planting of new trees, this is not,
but if you do
Additional
it
landscaping.
yourself, I think you're just probably eating the labor. Cause we're only gonna reimburse for supplies.
But then you know what you've done.
I'm just gonna be like, hey, offer a package deal to people, they just line them up.
Does it cover the rental of the trencher?
It's so expensive.
yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
You know, it's a trencher is it's pretty good pricey situation there.
Couple $100.
$200 for a day.
Brody and I both did it last year.
Yeah, I've done it.
If you're good with that, I have enough to put it on.
Okay.
Thank you. I could probably draft something
Okay.
up and then just email it out.
I want to make sure we have it complete when we put it on the voting session. All right. Next item, proposed amendments to Title IV of the Syracuse City Code to enact regulations addressing streetlight tampering.
There's been so many cases where people tampered with streetlights.
What are they doing?
So they
Dave,
disconnected
Dave.
power, so they're dealing with.
How do you
power,
disconnect the
electricity,
power?
so safety, yeah.
Is it like that little,
Probably don't want that.
Or they're removing the light fixtures.
what lights are there messing
Some
with?
have put a garbage can over them.
Where's,
Some have put for, Christmas display stuff and stuff. I mean, and of course posters.
where was the trash can? Like, what road was it on that got put on?
I don't want to tell you in this.
Anyway, yes, I agree that. What do we need to determine today?
If we catch you, you're in trouble?
So there is no ordinance right now that says they can't. So I'm just, I brought forward, ordinance that's been drafted if for you to consider adding this ordinance.
One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was, you can do whatever you want, so someone tells you you can't.
I guess the biggest worry I have too, and I didn't mention, is there's several that have private security cameras on them that are pointed to houses on a street pole. So it gives the impression that the city is surveilling people's houses.
Somebody
and
put their
it's not.
camera up there?
Why don't we just go pop them off?
Well,
So
because there's no
this-
ordinance that prohibits.
We have to-
So yes, we have to
This
do
would give the
this.
authority to
So-
do that.
Hold on. You need authority to take a camera off your own light post.
Well,
If it's not illegal.
Well, this was.
Well, this would make it
that's
clear.
why.
Yes, let's do this.
Let's make this clear that this is
Like,
unacceptable.
it's just stupid.
I don't know why, this is like saying you have to, write rules for. things
Well,
to
so
do.
we have to have a noise ordinance, but I
Okay,
think common courtesy would apply.
do you have any?
No, let's go forward with
We have
this.
some very bored teenagers. I
At
think.
some point, we're probably gonna need to, assign a real fee to it.
Yeah, no, I think we have to before we do it.
Well, this right now.
How do you catch the
Just
light
a sec.
poles?
Right now, it just says actual cost of abatement. So if we have to go take down a camera and it takes a city employee,
How do you track it?
I think there's a fine per incident.
I think, that's what I'm saying, is that's my part, the penalty here is a little vague. It says whatever it costs to take it down, but if,
In addition to
In
civil
addition to the
penalties,
civil penalties that are already in there for all other code violations, also the
Okay.
cost of
Okay.
taking it down.
okay,
Back to my
And
original
that's for
question.
court. It's not.
How do you figure out who did it?
Well, if we can, I mean, this is like
Well, whose
vandalism.
responsibility is it now to figure it
It
out?
would be just like vandalism. It would be considered the same thing.
You hear that, chief? Yeah.
Got it.
at some point, someone's gonna say, hey, my camera
the
disappeared.
proposal is that
This says,
yeah, go ahead.
This says that the street superintendent would be designated to enforce it for violations.
But again, if it's a crime,
But
if
it doesn't.
violates it,
It could.
we follow it up as such.
Actually, if it's a Wi-Fi camera, it makes it remarkably easy.
Do we have do we already have a street superintendent?
Yeah,
Yes, let's get this in place, and then I'm sure we're gonna need to tweak this
I
as
would've
we go
thought,
forward.
It's already in place, so it's a good.
I don't know.
I think that's it.
When people.
Thank you.
Can we just do a general thing, don't touch the city
okay,
stuff?
let's bring the focus back here.
Thank you.
We're gonna
It's not
talk
your
about,
bullshit.
we're gonna talk about money. We're gonna discuss, proposed amendments regarding the consolidated fee schedule. There are some that have been proposed during the budget season. Thank you, Steve. And so let's talk about this. I don't think we need a lot of discussion.
No, I'll discuss it quickly. There's only a handful in the packet. The public safety impact fee, that is an annual update with our study that we have online, that we've done. Just it increases every year. So you see the rates there from $8.94 to $9.14 for the public safety impact on residential. And then the commercial is 77 cents to 78 cents per square foot. The other ones on here are pretty minor adjustments for the licensing division. There were some modifications to just some titles and some descriptions. We had a request for a single event alcohol license as a new $100 per event fee. Sign permit fee increased from 318 to 398. And we kind of talked about this at the budget review a little bit. The passport photo fee was increased from $10 to $15, which is actually the going rate. I think if we compare to other entities doing the photo fee. I guess the big decision tonight is Robinson Waste contract. He has submitted the proposal for a 6%. By contract in our agreement, we agreed to do a 3.2%, which is the cost of living or the CPI index. I did put both of those items in bullet points to show you what the difference would be depending on the option you chose. That's basically it.
Discussion.
I have one, I actually want to go back up just a little bit. And I know we've talked about adjusting some of our parks impact fees. When are we going to, there's not, I guess this is just impact fees, right? No, that was fees in general. So when are we gonna address the parks fees?
I see.
You're okay with?
Yeah, question.
We're working on that right now, so hopefully before the July 1st, they'll come in effect for.
We have to have a study that supports it.
Well, so that's for impact fees in general, but what about just,
Rental fees, that's what we're doing.
rental fees as well have to have a
Well, we have to have some data to
No,
go.
we're just collecting, we don't have to, but we usually when we come to council, we'll say what other cities are doing around us, so it's not like we're trying to do something astronomical.
So we're still.
We're working on it.
Okay, because I see that
So
as
it's
one of the
reasonable.
big issues we have right now is,
Roden just clarified, the code says it has to be reasonable, so we have to have something that.
I put on my attorney hat.
Yeah.
Something upon which to make a reasonable
Reasonable.
decision.
You guys
That's
show
what we're
one
working
attorney
on.
hat, you have to pass it back.
Hey,
It's like the speaking stick. You take turns.
so we are expecting, that to be adjusted in the not too distant future as well.
Yeah.
We usually do a fee schedule this one for the July 1st.
Okay.
Fiscal year.
Maybe before then.
But these we want to do now.
Yeah.
So I think the unresolved one, we go back to the, waste. Where are you landing on that?
I think when we discussed it, we still need additional data until I have real good data other than, the only thing I've heard so far is we think we should have used a different index. But I haven't heard good data for any of that, so I'm kind of leaning towards the 3.2 as a contract. I think he's entitled to that, and I can see that I can justify that to the voters. I don't have enough data to support a 6 at the moment.
Others?
I'm good with following what we've agreed to in the contract, and I'll take up to the next on that, which is the 3.
Feel the same way.
All right, so I will move this forward for a vote on the May meeting. The next item is discussion regarding proposed amendments to the 2023-24 budget. That's the current one that we are in.
So I put a lot of information in the packet. I'm not going to read through this line by line. What I'd like to do is open up if you guys have any questions on what's in here. We typically do these 2 to 3 times a year. And so this is, I think, the second one of these. Items in red are related to the capital projects listing, and there's a black line that has an existing, and then the red line edits, and then so you can compare them side by side. Yeah, if you have questions, let me know on budget.
So I did notice several of these are going negative. Is that what I was seeing?
There are some adjustments. Sales tax, we were predicting around that's 8 to 9%. It's coming in about 5 to 6% right now. Paramedic revenue was tied to the hospital or the standalone ER, which is in existence yet. When we did budget last year, we kind of estimated when that was going to open.
FYI, I'm getting a mid-July date. I don't have a specific date, but they're looking for a mid-July grand opening, and then the license will be fine.
Yes, I requested it take place on not midweek then.
I will share that back.
Because the 17th is totally a Wednesday, so
I,
let's
it
skip that
totally
day.
is.
And their tentative was 11:30 in the morning, so I'll share that. It's very tentative right now. So let's get back to the topic, and that
We
is,
got a prior engagement.
So, I mean, I'm fine with this. I don't see anything that was really causing any issues in part for me.
anyone else? Jen?
Oh, no, I'm good.
Okay,
I'm just helping and puffing and sighing over here.
okay,
But.
all right.
But you can hear I'm huffing and sighing. And a grumble.
Exactly what-
I'll just growl next time,
That's the spirit.
right?
Love that we're having a good meeting. All right, so I will move that on to the May voting session, and then let's talk about the next budget year. And this one's gonna be a little bit deeper discussion. We did go back after the retreat and try to sort out all of the things that we had talked about. We talked about some options. Brody and Steve met and came back with some things as well, which I appreciate their time and their interest to look at ways that we can maybe make some compromise. So you've had a chance to look at where we are, where we landed. What are your thoughts, anyone?
So I'm not seeing the implementation of the road fee.
Correct.
I don't agree with that.
Okay, so let me just say where we landed. And it was not my choice, but so this, what they presented to the group was that we can, all we were talking about really was the difference of the money that we take from the general fund. Actually, it's something I initiated a long time ago because we're so far behind on roads. We're not totally caught up, but we've halved our deficit over the last 6 years. So what's presented is we just wouldn't transfer that extra because it is a small amount of extra. And so, but we have not implemented that as a new fee. One of the things that was brought up by the staff was we still probably have to study it a little bit before, if we jump right in with that, we thought we could get challenged that we didn't do our homework.
Yeah, and this proposal isn't that we don't do the road fee.
Yeah,
We're just saying that whether you do it or not, we can do this.
Okay.
So if under this proposal and you don't do the road fee, the general fund looks the same, because we're just not transferring that 162.
Understood.
and that can be done at any time because it's a fee, not a budget item.
And so if the
So
council
I'm trying to
wants,
separate the two.
if the council wants us to definitely move forward on putting together a road fee, we can do that.
It just doesn't have to be in conjunction with the budget.
Well,
I
and
thought that's what we talked about, that was that, well, that's what we wanted, right? To see, we wanted that before we did anything else, and I
well,
think,
I think that frees up
Yeah.
some of these funds for other things. Simply because I still don't agree with the cap on some of the staff. I'm still not in agreement with that.
agreed.
I think I've seen these amazing staff managers. And just in my time on council, I think I've seen them at least 4 to 5 times say, freeze ours, it's okay, just give it to the other people. And I don't think they should be consistently asked to take one for the team.
I'm pretty sure we asked for that at the end of the budget meeting, that all of our responses were based on having that one piece of information that's not in here.
Are you referring to the road fee? or- So if I could respond to that. My understanding, based on the discussion, is that we would still look into that. The timing of such of having,
I'm okay if we can work with the timing later.
yeah, the timing of it is, that's gonna take longer to figure out if we can do it and how much. And the draft budget has to be posted at our next meeting.
Mhm.
And so if this 162,000 is what we would propose, if we do the road fee, this 162,000 would be the maximum that we would propose to transfer or to take over with the road. If we go through the process and the council decides, oh, we go through the study and everything, oh, never mind, we don't want to do the road fee. What this is saying is you can still do this. Right? So it's more of a timing issue than it is whether we're doing it or not, because that's your decision.
Okay, and then my other statement still stands as far as the department heads and their managers.
My opinion hasn't changed much from our budget meeting, and I think I'm in the minority, but I'm looking for more of a stopgap measure that's very minor. I think almost a 18 to 21% property tax increase is too much, knowing what we've got coming on the horizon.
Okay, I'm going to share with you something that I thought was quite profound. So hear me out before we jump in on this. Last night, the mayors met of the county, and it was brought up by a couple of the mayors, not me, but it was brought up that a recent Utah study has said that we have gone over the last decade from being the fastest growing sector of job creation in the state of Utah a decade ago was defense. And that's tied to the Air Force Base. And that's just understandable and makes all the sense in the world. About 5 years ago, that migrated to biomed. And that was our biggest growing sector. The last 2 years, the fastest growing sector of job creation is government. That means we're creating more government jobs than any other sector out there.
Okay, well, hold on.
No,
When you grow as a city, you have to create more jobs to take care of the citizens of the city. And we
I think
had a
that's what he's
population boom.
I think that's what I think
The
you're
point
agreeing
that-
right now.
okay, so that is the fact. But the question is, are we being responsible to not grow too fast, too much?
No, we weren't.
So, that's the question that came up with several mayors, and I have to ask the same question, because the other thing that was part of this discussion was we had done a survey amongst the mayors that asked for several things that people were concerned about, one of which was the size of employees that we have as a city. We are by far, we are the second highest, and there are a lot of cities in this county that have a fraction of the full-time employees that they operate with from where we are. Now, we are one of the bigger cities. We're the third biggest in the county right now, if that's fair enough, but we're a lot ahead of some of the others. And we just need to think that through, because it is the responsibility that we're putting on the taxpayers. So,
It's only gonna have
So
fewer employees.
I'm saying that we need to think about the pace that we grow.
So, no, you're not, because the pace that we grow is dictated by the amount of houses and families that grow with that movement. And if we're not paying attention to that, then paying attention to the employees as a whole, it's literally the same issue. It's,
You're assuming that it's directly related in every department.
okay, so the two cities that are bigger than us would be Layton and Bountiful. And which city of the two has less employees than us?
Bountiful.
I'd be willing to ask their employees how much they like their job. You think it's funny,
I
right?
don't, no, I'm not thinking that's funny. It's a totally different point.
It's not, like,
It is, because I'm not talking about whether the employees like their job.
but it's the amount, okay, so if we keep growing as a city, but don't hire on enough employees per capita within the city, then all of a sudden we're stacking all these other responsibilities on employees we already have. And then their morale, mental health goes down, and they no longer like their job. So it's completely intertwined.
One thing to note on Lake, when you talk about Layton and Bountiful does not have a fire department. It's done by a district. And so they wouldn't have fire employees.
The recreation district.
Well, so yeah, you would.
The what? The recreation. There's a.
There's a district down there too as well.
Recreation district.
There's
So-
several things that are done in different cities, different ways, but
I mean, there's two, our two most significant revenue sources are property taxes, and sales tax. And what I'm saying is, we are, every year, you know, there's, and I understand, every year there's requests for more and more. I'm just not an advocate of every year just property taxes raising and raising and raising. That's why we've said we've got to work on our business development, on our commercial growth, and I think we've been doing that. I think we just need a little time to see the fruits of that labor, and I think we're gonna see a leveling of, or an increase in that sales tax. I think can help with some of our budgeting issues, but I'm of the opinion that we all have to live within our means. Every citizen has a budget, the cities have budgets. And so I don't love the idea of just every time we see, well, we need more money, let's just flip the tax increase switch. I think the citizens don't want to see that. I think they want us to figure it out. And I don't think the switch can always be tax increase. Sometimes it has to be, what can we do to limit our spending?
So let me ask you this. So from truth and taxation, holding the rate is the same as tax increase. So where do you stand on that?
Well, to me, holding the rate is, I'm probably more okay with holding the rate. Because it helps us keep up with inflation, things like that. It's the same tax rate, but property values are going up.
Which is what we should have done last year. We probably wouldn't be in such a bind.
So, I mean, to be fair, you say that it's the same because the state calls it a tax increase, but it's not the 10% and 50% are not the same. I'm not saying those are our numbers. I'm just saying that even 10% and 11% is not the same. So, holding the rate is a response to inflation. I think,
we're agreeing here.
okay, but my point is when you say that it's the same, it's not,
The state calls it the same.
the state calls it.
That's what he said, yeah.
But we have to look at it reasonably. We're not saying, okay, we're gonna take the tax rate from 10% to 15%. We're saying we're gonna hold it at 10% and property values increasing are gonna naturally.
So my point on the government growth issue is that we have to just be really careful that we're pacing the growth at what we can sustain. This would be, I mean, we can always say, hey, you know what, every year I want a new car. So I'm going to pay the higher lease rate so that I can get the newest model.
Wanting and needing are two different things.
You're right. And that's what I'm saying with everything that we do in this budget. We have to separate wanting and needing. And that's where I'm trying to say there's a difference. And I'm not advocating right here for any specific add or cut. I'm advocating that we consider this carefully.
Okay,
Go ahead.
so based on what's in the packet here, one thing I hope that the council can appreciate is based on the two retreats that we went through, this is an attempt to find a middle ground because the five of you are not in the same place. And, you know, I sometimes joke if we put together something that none of you are happy with, then we've succeeded. Because then there's compromise, right? So, what we tried to do was, you know, we had a couple council members on one end, a couple councilors on the other, and one sort of in the middle. So we tried to find something that, you know, someone could maybe move a little bit one way or the other to find someone, one way or another, we got to find 3 votes to actually have a budget for the city. But what we tried to do is get as many of your priorities funded within a ballpark figure of a property tax impact that might get passed. So it's kind of a
So I like what you come up with. I support this. I just would like to make sure that we don't cap those.
Okay, but that's
That's
on that
me.
one line item, that's one opinion. What are the other 4 opinions on that one line item? Because if you say that's, you know, gotta be for me, it's gotta be for everything else too, or it's not it.
I'm just telling everyone that's where I am right now.
So you're saying that you're okay with the, because we're looking anywhere from like an 18 to 20% property tax increase.
Yes,
And Jen, did I hear you say you're okay with the same, or with that same line item has to be in for you? Or no?
Yeah, I don't want their pay cut.
Okay.
well, it's not a big.
Ah,
No, I know, but not getting it, I know.
okay. Mhm.
I feel that we need to be careful and pace things. Pace our growth or. I don't know.
Could you support this?
Free housing.
Could you support this budget, or are you looking to cut more out?
I can support the budget that.
Right.
I don't like it. $111 to me in this city is not that much. We're in an economy and an environment where there's going to be increases in costs and expenses every year. You've got people coming in from garbage people who want an increase because they have an increase, and I think that to look at a situation and say we need to hold it is not consistent with what reality is. I think that in order, as I look at this list, it's on page 87 of the packet with the items that are eliminated or modified. I don't see, I use the word fluff, and I know that I got some kickback from that, but
I appreciate that word.
I don't see a lot of items that are being eliminated that aren't very important to this city. I realize that there are some concessions that need to be made. I'm not going to get what I think is appropriate, and that's okay. I would look at a higher number in order to minimize these eliminated modified items. But I'm willing to make some concessions off what I think is appropriate in order to get there, but I don't like it where it's at.
So we were just talking about the one
Yeah,
item, just this,
I was just trying to get, I
the
mean,
pay,
Jordan's saying
right?
it's an absolute, you're saying it's an absolute. There needs to be a third absolute or it's out, so.
I mean,
For,
our economy is going to improve. It's going
Yes,
to
it
be
is.
improving over the next year, 2 years. If you wait, the economy is going to improve. Things can change for the next budget.
but we're just talking about,
I mean, I see
We're
things
just
in
talking
here
about
that
pay.
I don't like taking out, but
well,
because we're trying to reduce things.
we're not talking about the whole, I think you said we're talking about the one line item.
I
Well, we keep
went,
going back and forth.
I did my big thing. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
okay, but Brett's saying
I'm with Brett on
he'd
it.
go for more, I'm saying I'd go for less.
I don't think we should just keep putting things off. There's a hiccup already in what everybody thinks is gonna make the economy screen better, so it's gonna take even more time. So I feel like putting things off even longer is not a good idea. And no, I'm not willing to sacrifice their pay to do it.
They're saying that
They're paying us-
I don't think so.
Where are you, Brett, for the council?
On that particular line item.
I would be with, Jordan.
Okay.
That was in,
I mean, he,
I guess I'd like to understand what the effect of, I know we have the stage canopy, can we go another year? 'Cause we use that every year, we're okay putting that off?
I don't.
Doing the other repairs on it that need to be done now,
Okay, so
like the
we're still
tires,
fixing it.
yeah, the tires and all that stuff. It's
Okay, good.
it's just a
So
can.
which of these summary of items were modified? Because
I know it's difficult to,
it says eliminated, modified. What
because some of these are increased.
Some of them are increases, that's why it says modified.
So A changed quite a bit, well, not quite a bit, with the salary changes. B through, most of the rest of them stayed out in priority. The road transfer, I think, came out, because we're thinking, let's take the first half of that transfer out. Work on the road maintenance fee, and we'd probably take some of that.
I think item F is just a reduction. There's probably, I can't remember the number in the budget, probably like another $1,200 is still in there for families. A lot of them are torn and that sort of thing.
But we are increasing parks, cemetery, community center fees.
Yes.
We're reducing 2 part-time firefighter positions, but admittedly, they're not being filled anyway, so it's not a reduction in service. And then I'm not putting in batting cages. Okay, that makes sense. We're not fixing a walkway. And then on purchases by a year, we talked about those.
That's somebody here.
Yeah. And then road transfer to Class C road funds, we're taking that out, but we're hoping to supplant that with a fee at a later date. I can get behind this, because I think I understand it all.
And so based on that, Mayor, so the question then, if there's 3 on that piece, is there 3 on the way the staffing is in the memo, or do you want to subtract or add other staffing? Where does everybody sit on there?
The only thing I would add back in is a record supervisor for the police, because it frees up someone in the police department to do other things. I think police are, chief, you can say, I don't need that right now, but it seems like that would be an easy, an inexpensive thing that could help free up some of your staff.
I mean, again, I know I'm at the opposite end. I would be looking at the 4 firefighter position.
And I want everybody to know that, like, we're all professionals here. You can say what you feel, because this is important. And no matter what you decide, we're gonna do our best to keep the city running well. These are requests based on the subject matter experts, right? But we'll do everything we can to keep everything going well.
So I'm going to share this one interesting comment. Comment was made by several mayors that every year the police ask for more people. Now, I feel like I've been really supportive of the police over the years, and I don't think that ours has actually asked for one every year, but there's a perception out there that some departments in other cities ask for staff every year, whether they need it or not, to see if they can, because when they get it, and when they don't, they don't. I'm not, I think our people have been more careful in that. I really do. But it brought the question to me about being careful about how much we can afford, because the point was brought up by another mayor, and I won't tell you which one, but said, you know, you could have 50 more police officers and justify it for public safety. But does their city actually need that, which is bigger than their whole department? But again, the question is that are we being careful that we absorb the costs as our citizens can manage it? So I'm just throwing that out.
About every 50,000 that you add or subtract, it's about 1% profit that or added on to 18.7. For example, if you add in item Q, which was item P, that's another 2.5%, added on to 18.7%. So you look at this, subtracting, adding about 50,000, you get about 1%.
That add-in, we're sitting right around.
I'm not real comfortable with that.
I'm not either for the other reason.
Same. It's just kicking the can down the road in hopes we make some, that we've been saying in hopes for 40 years, in hopes.
Well, since we're all in agreement, we can add some more stuff to the mix. If you want, or we can wait.
I am concerned that we have to adopt a tentative budget in the next meeting, and I didn't feel like we left a retreat with 3 agreements. I don't feel like we're there now. I'm not gonna sit here and force it and say you.
Am I not hearing it right? I thought these 3 are in agreement.
On
No,
part of it,
just on the.
just on the
okay,
one line
just
item.
on that one line. item.
Just something.
We're not,
I
Do you
think all of them
support-
need to be added
Did you
back
go
in.
along with the 21?
I can go along with 111. Here. For
Okay.
family.
So we've got two at the center point,
right,
at the 21.
but we have two higher too and one lower, so.
So what would you guys add? I mean, we're gonna have to do this one thing at a time.
And in the end, even if we say it tonight and you don't vote for it in May, we gotta have something has to be agreed on by the time we meet the building in May.
At this point, Paul, no matter what, you're gonna lose. So the question is, would you rather go to 21 and compromise, or should we keep going?
Keep in mind, May is tentative, so if it is a draft proposal, it can be changed.
I mean, 21 is, again, when we couple that with every other entity that's gonna be doing the same thing, it's not a small amount.
One of the mayors told everybody
It's
last
$10
night,
a month.
one of the other mayors told everybody last night on where their projected increase was gonna be, no one was above 10. I'm just letting you know, no one was. That was told last night. Except for us.
Our finances aren't contingent on theirs, so
No, but you
nobody's
have to
above
know
10,
that
so good for them. We're happy for them. They can budget their money better than us.
It's a well, we have a new fire station, which changes
now you're
everything.
right.
They all admit that whenever they've had that, for those that have had one, it changes everything.
Okay, but you didn't say that. You just threw out nobody's above 10,
That's true.
but we were getting a fire station, so it's irrelevant.
No, it's not irrelevant. It's a factor.
I'll do the 21 as tentative if we were voting tonight, but I'm not finished talking.
Okay,
What was that? We don't have to actually finalize it
We do
till
not.
June.
June was the official, that we have to set a rate and we have to put out noticing, so it is there at that moment, but we have to adopt a tentative, and then we can still talk about it, negotiate, but we have to publicize something after May, that this is what we're going to propose in June.
And that's the basis I'm
Okay.
agreeing.
All right,
And even with the truth and taxation, that really gives you until August.
okay,
On a ceiling.
all right, so we have something we can put on the May agenda, so I'm gonna move this on.
There's one more item in a minute,
Oh,
on the tier 2 retirement.
after all this,
I
my
know.
gosh,
I know.
what is this for, bro?
I know, this is pursuant to a new state law.
You want me to take it?
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead and
Oh, yeah.
explain, I'll chime in.
So tier 2 is the second tier of retirement. There's two options within it. There's a hybrid, which is similar to tier 1. It's a defined benefit contribution plan. The state has required the cities to pay up to 10% into that fund. Once it goes over the 10%, then it's up to the employee to pick up the amount above. There's a couple different retirement plans going on here, so the non-public safety just surpassed that by 0.7%. By law, we cannot pick that up for them. We can, however, pick it up for the public safety portion, which we have done in the past. The public safety went above it a couple of years ago by 2.59%. The city at that time elected to pick up the hybrid for the public safety. It's now gone up an additional 2.15% for public safety. So I guess we're bringing this discussion to you to give you a little bit of history of what's going on there. And I gave you some numbers in the packet. If we can't pick up for non-public safety, but in theory, if you want to pay more, I'm not advocating for this. I'm saying you could pay more to cover that cost difference. If they're in the 401k, which is the second part of tier 2, it just goes into a 401k. The city puts 10% in, and that's the end of it. If they want to do any more, it's on the employee as an option, not a requirement.
Yeah, so in that table there on page 88, the ones that are listed as hybrids So there's the public safety and the regular employee is called. The city cannot put in more than 10 on the hybrid, but the employee is required to pay the difference. And so what some cities are doing in those circumstances is, so instead of 10%, now it's 10.7% that's required to be put in there. The employee is required to pay that 0.7% into it. Some cities have decided to basically give them a 0.7% increase in their wage so they can pay it. It's kind of a way of paying it without paying it. The 401 options are not required to do that above 10%. So the city does not, or the employee doesn't have to go over the 10%, and nor does the city on the 401k option. Public safety, the state allows the cities to just pay the extra above the 10%.
They can pick it up, they call to pick up, yeah, the city can pay that, which we are doing the first 2.5%.
So, just on the ones that are required to pay, the employees that are required to pay, it would just be those two hybrid options. The 401 options, the employee is not required to pay the extra. So the city doesn't have to.
So on the hybrid options, are they opting into that hybrid option?
When they were hired, you select the retirement. There's two tracks you can jump into, and that's the one they select.
Okay.
And the hybrid's kind of a combination of, it's kind of a watered down version of the old fashioned pension, with a 401k option. And then the 401k is primarily support.
And to be clear, there's no requirement here for the city to pick up. This is completely an option. We just wanted to give you all the facts of what's happened in the past and what's currently.
I know in the commercial world, a really good 401k with no pension is 6% match. That's
And that's the high end. There's a lot of them out there around 3. So council, what do you want to do?
I don't always want to speak first.
I mean,
Yes, you do.
I'll wait. I'm of the opinion that I think the benefit packages are above what we would find in commercial. I think it's okay to say employees, you might need to pick this up.
Why is the state increasing?
Yeah, well,
Are they trying to force savings on people?
No.
That's what I was wondering, like, why are they forcing this?
It's funding a pension program.
So they can
What I
borrow from it
heard was
and use
it's
that money
about-
on other things?
It's a,
oh, that's weird. They're increasing their.
Shocking, but yeah, we have to be frugal.
I'm just saying, every.
I mean, the question I have to ask is, because we have to compete, is, do we have any idea what the adjacent cities are doing? I'm seeing head nods from people in the audience. Would you be willing to let them discuss that? Because ultimately we have to compete.
Yeah,
well, and that is part of why they're raising this, is you're thinking that, but all it does is escalate everything.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's the problem, is you open another door of another way to pay, and you're just keeping the competition alive, which is a pain point throughout the entire state. I mean, keeping up with, we're just killing each other. We're cannibalizing each other's departments with every little one step here, one step here.
So, since I have to compete, I have to ask the question, what are the adjacent cities doing?
I can get you the information. I know that some are picking up, some are not, but I can't give you the exact details.
I need more data on it.
It's different in different departments too.
Sure, I need more data here.
I agree with Jordan.
Okay, well, we'll have to vote on this in May, but I'm gonna put this off for more data. The next item is we need to talk about our situation with the Connection magazine. Sarah, would you join us at the table?
This was shocking to me.
Miss Kara, what's up?
So just so you know,
How could it be?
just so you know, we have met with the magazine. There was concern about the level of advertising and being able to maintain the magazine without the advertising. So we have looked at some,
So have they given 30 days notification?
No.
Okay, so there's no official notification in place.
Notification for what? That it was-
Non-official.
Termination.
That magazine's been so skinny these last 3 months. I'm like, what is this?
well, we,
We
trying
didn't
to
have a
save
magazine
money.
until they.
Well, they had a printing problem like 3 months ago, right? There was like a issue
Well,
with
it's
their
just-
printing.
Advertising. on-
Advertising is going up. So we have this concern. We talked about other alternatives. I mean, one of the things, I'll throw you my first alternative, but I don't know that it's gonna work, is if the city were to pick up a portion of it to make up for the lack of advertising. And then I was thinking what we would add for content is maybe reach out to our local schools and see if they wanted a half-page recognition or article or something. And that maybe if all of the people looking for their stuff with their kids were in there, the readership would boost more advertising. Now, it's out of the box, thinking that if we were to subsidize a little bit of it for the fact of getting recognition for our schools and kids, that maybe it would help with the average. There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that we would suddenly get the interest from people. The bottom line is that, and I've talked about this with other businesses in my own business, that advertising dollars are getting more scarce. One of the things that's out there that's a real challenge is if you do like online advertising or stuff like that, you can track that somebody actually clicked on it or somebody actually looked at it. In a print material, there is no tracking. There's no ability that we can say that this many people actually read the advertisement. So you can't sell that to an advertiser that says you get 10,000 impressions as you get on a Facebook ad or something.
So the thing about our magazine, and I love our city magazine. It is my one of two methods of seeing what's going on in the city, the other being the manager's report. This magazine's gotten real friggin' boring over the last like 5 months. It's just, the front page, the picture on the front has looked so fake over the last few months that I almost threw it away thinking it was that hometown savings thing because it looked the same. It doesn't look.
It wasn't us.
It wasn't us. It's not Syracuse. It's not, even if it doesn't look like Syracuse.
I did run into a different option. Last Wednesday, I went to a conference and in one of the booths was somebody that produces a competing resource. So I turned that information over to Kara and she looked into it. But again, it's more cost. I mean, everything's more cost. One of the concerns that I have is that in the last survey of communication, the second highest was the Connection magazine, but it was equal to the online stuff or like Facebook. So, but if 50% of the people say they get information that way, that's a lot to ignore. But
Just the phone app was 6%.
I like the calendar.
Oh, yeah, I
The
love the
calendar's a big
magazine.
deal.
It is a little,
but it's costly.
It's long.
you know exactly what to expect in every issue. There's nothing different about it.
Well,
Which-
print
Okay.
is one of the most expensive
It is.
mediums for advertising.
We don't have to have it. I mean, I'm not saying we do. You can think of the council could vote that we are not gonna do this anymore, or that's an option. Or we could vote that we're gonna find another way to help, or we could find another medium.
And we've got several alternatives in the packet to consider.
I really like the magazine. It's just,
I think it's
Gone downhill.
a boost for morale for the citizens,
I
that
get
they,
excited
that
when I
they
do.
have a Syracuse City magazine. We didn't have that, Dave, until you came on board. It's much better than the newsletters.
I actually get the magazine. I don't get anything else from the city of the magazine I get.
It's too bad we can't just put one little line on there on the bills that says magazine window.
We could, I guess we could. That's an option. I mean, I'm open to all
We'd like to
thinking here,
opt out.
folks.
I
like to opt out.
Opt out if you need to.
If you had people opt out, you would end up with not enough
That's what we're
volume
gonna hear.
to pay for the printing. One of the things that I heard is there is a kind of a magic number of about 10,000 copies. We've never reached that. So that may be part of the difficulty.
What's the magic number?
10,000.
I mean, what, it brings the cost
That
down.
it
and
brings
raises
the cost into some, that's what two of the competing opportunities said, is that if you don't have 10,000, and for that reason, they combined city magazines with a neighboring city
Right,
so that they can get up to the 10,000 number.
the Hooper, West Point, Syracuse.
Yeah. So Centerville combines with Farmington, Bountiful, West Bountiful combined. I'm not saying we should do that either. I'm just throwing out information. I think the.
I mean, I got
vaccine-
West Point, we're gonna be buddies.
I think they're in one, but, anyway, I think the magazine's been well received. I mean, people liked it when it came around, but this is up to you.
I would like to continue with the magazine until they say no, but if
that
we
could be
need,
this month.
they haven't given 30 days.
No, but that could be based on this.
Well,
So we get at least one more magazine out of them, is what he's saying.
So-
Are they?
have they indicated they're thinking about it?
Right, are they?
Yes, and they're here
firing us
tonight.
Because it's not profitable for them.
Yeah, they came to us and talked to us about the fact that
Look at
it has not been profitable. March and December are always profitable, but they said the others are not.
Why March and December?
Or
Well,
December.
December is a no-brainer, but why
Okay.
March?
March, because that's where they do their favorites.
Oh, tax
The
season.
favorite, the favorites issue, where they
the
say the,
restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and those favorites get a lot of.
I vote on those.
So what if we switch to a bi-monthly instead of monthly? Would that change anything? Or does that actually make the advertisers less willing to invest?
That's a question, but I don't know if we really know the answer. And the other question about that is, does it really help? Because the information would then have to be for 2 months at a time.
I'm just trying to figure out what levers I have to pull.
I agree.
We
Agreed.
really like our
I
magazine.
mean, a lot of the cities do the newsletter and
In the
the.
utility bill. We
Okay,
did
so-
that.
I remember we talked about this, what, a year ago? And or 2 years ago, we didn't want a ton of advertising in the magazine. When we were, you guys don't remember this?
I don't
That's
know.
what keeps, yeah, but that's
Yeah.
what keeps us from having.
I know that, and I think that's what, we restricted how much advertising we wanted in the magazine. I swear we did, I remember talking about this.
There's a
We
limit
said
of
instead.
contract, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right? Okay.
But I don't-
We did.
but I don't-
They
but I-
haven't reached over that.
It's,
Yeah.
we haven't had that much.
But so
Yeah.
they're having problems filling up.
Well, they
with that
can't
anyway.
get people
They
to
can't
advertise.
get that anyway, so.
So it's worthwhile for us to buy an additional advertising spot for some highlight we want to do. I
You
guess,
might as well just pay extra for the magazine instead of,
I guess that's where I'm going. Do we want to, at what point does it continue on?
and that's where I
And
was
that's where I need to make
thinking,
the trade.
that's where I was thinking, if we paid for a little bit more, we subsidize the school pages. And maybe that gets the readership, because a lot of people will look for things with their kids. If we involve more kids, maybe we involve more readership. I don't know. That's just a wild idea I had. Maybe it doesn't.
How much is a little more?
That's a question for us, because right now we're paying about 20 cents an issue. If we paid 40 cents an issue, does that change the world? Does it take,
What was the
As we're trying not to.
So
raise
their
the tax
break even for a 16 page is 8,500, 32 is 9,500.
the months that they've been under has been between 2,600, 2,200, all the way up to 3,500. So you'd be looking at, for those months, doubling your cost, if not tripling. Subsidize the maximum for. And that's only if they're willing to continue forward with us beyond the contract change and postage increases that are happening for 6 months as well.
Postages are out of control.
Also been a.
You know,
4
why
years
not?
ago, I bought
Forever stamp.
15 things of forever stamp, but I'm still working through them.
It's a horrible investment, but man.
No, it's worked.
But-
Maybe like $12.
So we have a couple of things on the table. One is we figure out, do we investigate a way that we might be able to save the current magazine, which would probably mean a cost to the city? Or do we look at an alternative to this, which may be even more? Who knows? We don't have that solidified.
I need a spreadsheet.
What's this Clearfield?
Don't we have,
Yeah, so Clearfield was on, I think, every other month Connection magazine, and then when theirs wasn't reaching the revenue that's needed, that was discontinued and they've gone to being discontinued. They are doing a 103 their utility bill. They did that just in not convenience, but not consistent. They did that for their landfill coupons this month.
Can we do partner? Like, you think West Point already?
I think we ought to investigate, West Point we want to go in on, that would get you a much higher print rate. So I
I
think
don't
we have,
know if it's high enough, though.
well, you're gonna be over 10,000. If your magic number is 10,000, then you're over 10,000 because they have roughly, I think they have 20,000.
They probably have.
Household, they,
Households. 'Cause I think the
Oh, I was
population-
sorry about population, but
yeah.
Just say five.
We'll say 5,000.
Except for the cost of your magazine's gonna go up because everything's gonna be double.
that's correct.
So you're not really saving.
Like,
We have,
I
Then
just
you
feel
have
like
the
we're trying to
opioid sharing
subsidize
with
the inevitable.
Right.
35, 40, and like,
Or everything's just double.
we're close to 10,000 households. Probably
You know, that's.
So-
Your messages.
I guess I need to figure out, from the Connection magazine, what's it gonna cost to move forward? What is, if there's a number like 10,000 that suddenly makes it profitable because I'm sure when you talk to advertisers, you're going to 10,000 homes.
okay, so we have enough questions here. Ryan, would you like to join us at the table? Ryan is the publisher of the Connections magazine. And, it looks like we're concerned about what the cost would need to be to continue and really where it goes from there.
So, the chart that we provided here basically gives you an idea. The magazine is insolvent. We've subsidized it as a company. Out of the last 5 months, 4 of them have been unprofitable. And even the months that are profitable, you're talking $52, $800. I'm sure there's argument that can be made whether we could have done a better job in selling ads or whatever. We do have magazines that make money. This one befuddles me because I think Syracuse is awesome. I think it should be chock full of ads, but it isn't. So, at this point, it would just have to be a subsidy that said, we aren't losing money anymore on each magazine to see if it does turn the corner. There has been a downturn in print marketing. That's not the first time it's happened. Most people work from your old school print advertising salespeople, and they say, I've been through this before, it always comes back. I just don't have the capability to survive until that point.
I do think that a year from now, when a bunch of our new businesses come online, because we've got this possibility of the hotel section, plus the other retail section, plus the stuff around the golf course. There's so much going on that I do think a year from now, it could be a totally different landscape. But it's a big if.
Well, that's 6 businesses that will be new.
Well, it'd be 7, 8, plus 5 is 13, plus 2, 3, 4.
But yeah, I agree that there will be a different picture in a year, possibly two. How do we bridge that gap? And I guess I would look to you to tell me, what does it take for us to continue doing business? I think we'd be interested to understand what that looks like, and then we can make the trade. If we.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I need to understand what it takes to keep Ryan.
So, for me, these numbers just have to be met. We've had to diminish resources, so the comments about like content and things like that, we've had to lay off people. We just haven't had the financial resources to continue those things, so it would just be meeting what the demands are financially, each month. The costs don't change a ton month to month. The postage goes up every 6 months. They've announced that, so we deal with that every 6 months. It seems insignificant, but it adds, from several hundred to sometimes $1,000 a month in costs. But paper costs have at least stabilized. They're not continuing to increase. What we're dealing with now is that increase from about 2 years ago. That every month for 6 months we raise prices. We're stable now, but it's at that point. And then our advertising revenue came down too. So those two things combined are really what caused this. So the hard part for me is answering, is paper going to go up again? I don't know. It doesn't seem like it, but I never thought I would go through that in the first place. So, but I think just dollars and cents wise, I can't lose another dime. I can't subsidize the magazine for any city, frankly. I'm meeting with North Ogden on Thursday, and with Roy today. Like, they're all dealing with some similar situations. So not all of them are quite as bad as Syracuse. Syracuse has had a little bit worse. The biggest challenge that I'll face from a business standpoint are the big advertisers on covers, front inside cover, back inside cover. If those are full, then the small ads are where we make money and actually have a business. Because those ads are not full and haven't been full for a couple of years, the big advertisers are saying what the mayor said, which is we want digital, we want tracking, we want all those things. The smaller ones are great, but they don't cover the costs well enough. So that's our biggest challenge, frankly, and that's across my whole company, is premium advertising. You cover the biggest portion of your expense as a business, and then your small advertising is where you make money. So there's not an easy answer here, because you go talk to Ed Kemley Ford, who was a sponsor for many years, and they're just like, we'll come in every once in a while, but we're not going to take a permanent spot like we used to.
So if you're gonna possibly, go down the road of, propping up the magazine, so to speak. One scenario could be, you could do it for a limited time. You could say, we'll fill the gap up to a certain amount, so you're not just saying like, you're gonna fund the whole edition, if there's like 0 advertisers, but, just giving you some options, if that's the road, you want to go down to maybe see if the advertising market comes back in 6 months or whatever, 8 months, whatever you want to do. You could do something like that. We just have to find where we pull that money from to do that.
And are there months that consistently underperform?
Yes, there's a general like late winter lull after Christmas. Typically there's March we force to be good because of favorites. So that's a really good event, and advertisers like saying thank you, so we get those ads. Midsummer is usually a little slow, June, July.
I think you have chronic vendors. You do a couple of them where it's combined. You do a early winter and a midsummer, and then that way you don't have to do one every month.
I don't know the logistics of overhead. I don't know how your staff's paid, but one of the issues could be you don't have advertising money coming in, but you do have staff on hand.
Fair point.
But I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
Some of it is staff on hand, some of it is streamers, so people pay per piece. There's a little bit of both.
So I guess what I'm saying is help me help you.
I think the challenge for me is I don't have that crystal ball to tell you if advertising can come back. I am an eternal optimist, and I always felt like we could turn this around and we could fix it. It's been bad for a year and a half. Like I said, I always feel like if it was me out selling all the ads and I could do it, but it's not, right? So I don't know. I can't tell you. I talked to my salesperson who was most recently assigned down here, and he was like, I'm just getting too many people where it used to be they would advertise and they're not. And he's been in the industry for 15 years, you know, and he's like, some of my old time clients are just saying no. That's could be a trend. I don't know.
Social media is free.
Not old enough.
Yeah, that's for advertising big
I mean,
businesses
we've
now.
got the trend of the last 7 months right there, you can see.
Yeah, I know, I like the magazine too, but they're turning towards the things that are easy and cheap for them.
And we do, you know, we have to acknowledge that the resource of online is completely different. We have that.
The hardest part is I know the magazines work. I have another business that I advertise for my own with my son in the publications. It's our second best source of leads. It's not proof that I can provide. It's just simply the preference that the people are saying, the advertise, you know, the potential advertisers. So could it circle back around? Absolutely. Syracuse Magazine has been very good for that other business. And it breaks my heart to see it not be there because we love Syracuse and it's a great place. It's awesome. It's been really fun to represent, but it just it hasn't worked.
Okay, so I guess at this point, I mean, I'd like to see what it takes to move forward, but it might just be too much and we have to look at.
So the question is that, will there be a June magazine?
At this point, no. So there's a May magazine, obviously, but I don't see, I mean, May we lost $3,200. And that was a special issue. We did our home and garden issue there. There is no special issue in June. So some of that revenue would go away, even as is. And we struggled to sell home and garden.
And I'm just bringing that to your question, how long do we have? We're there. So there's no more magazines if we don't have a different solution. So we really don't, and because it takes a full month to put these together, we really don't have time to just wait for more information. We either decide that we're going to take action in May, which is really too late because the deadline will have passed and we want to vote it. So we either decide that we're going to do something or there's no magazine in June.
Right now, I don't know what something is, so.
Yeah.
Again,
So I
not
think,
saying I have a solution.
I think at this point, we're too late to do anything.
Well,
Okay.
we did give you some alternatives in there. We actually did make a few different proposals you could consider, maybe a magazine twice a year with certain information in it. More of like the December, more June probably, so that we could do Heritage Days, or moving to a fully digital offering. There's also the option of moving to just a digital in-house newsletter that can be, you know, fully digital, like some cities are doing, or doing digital as well as the utility bill component, where you could do either a 1-page with it or a 4-page.
How are other cities having people sign up for the digital?
So usually it's sent with the utility bill. So when you get a utility bill monthly, you also get that email that says, you know, here's this, we can push out to your social media, and then through the hard copy utility bill as well. We can also do opt-ins to it and make sure that people can sign up consistently for it.
And you could also push the QR code on social media as well, that
Yeah.
for a subscription list.
Why does everything have to be online? Why do we have to stare at loading screens for everything?
There's also an option to do a consistent booking in hometown values, or there is,
Really expensive.
it is very expensive.
And I don't think you get
Yeah.
Oh, what? I said throw that right in the garbage.
Yeah,
So
I think most people
hard one to
do.
get. And the other one is bringing in a city journal, which is slightly higher in cost, but it would be a monthly journal. We have this in our section, depending on what's in it.
And that option, if that's the more like the newspaper,
It is more of the newspaper. It is an independent newspaper.
so it's not your publication.
Correct. It would not be labeled as an official city. You would not get to control the content. They do a variety of
I don't
content.
want that.
And you have to be.
I can see where this is going.
Your city center section would be labeled as the city newsletter, and it would be separated from.
It's controversial stuff going on.
I mean, I would want to evaluate more, the more cost effective, so I don't want to take more of a digital option.
I think that's kind of where everything's going, is what I'm hearing. It just breaks my heart to lose our magazine.
No, I don't wanna, I spend enough time staring at a screen all day. I love the magazine.
Well, you'll lose.
I probably won't read it once it's on a digital, just because of that.
And you can look at combinations. You could combine a twice a year publication with a digital offering with a utility bill. So we could also look at those types of combinations.
But I do think we're gonna need a Heritage Days.
Yeah.
Like, remember when
At
the
minimum.
Toys R Us catalog came out every year, once a year, I think we did the Syracuse Connection, we get the big catalog.
I was there with my Sharpie.
Yeah. It'd be like-
From a revenue standpoint, one of those would need to be the favorites, right?
Yeah,
And then the other one at Christmas, we got
At minimum, I think.
November.
So we move the favorites to June
Probably
and
have
make
to,
it
yeah.
a Heritage issue.
Or can you do it 3 times or 4 times or quarterly?
Well, I mean, anything's an option depending on what we want to pay to subsidize it. And that's the question, what do we, I mean, we've had a really difficult budget discussion too, so everything that we add is something.
I mean, depending on what the cost to do 2 publications a year. I think about
Semi-annual edition and then, yeah, digital for the rest. I think it's probably my favorite at this point, you know. Just because I do think we need something in the hands for Heritage Day if we're gonna really promote that.
So one of the options was to continue Syracuse Connection and for us to kind of help with the digital side of things, but to continue to add in some of those extras like recipes and local stories and Students of the Month and different things. With that option, your costs would actually stay about the same because we would still staff that and have people helping with writing and all of those different things, gathering the information. But we would then work with the city and their email list and getting people subscribed digitally and help send out your e-newsletter, if you will, and kind of help drive that side of it. And then twice a year do the publications. Basically that same cost. We'd have to analyze it, but the nice thing about those 2 particular issues is they are revenue friendly. You know, they do pretty well just by nature. People like voting in it and they like seeing what their favorites were, what other people voted for, and the businesses that win are more prone to say yes, let's advertise. And then of course during Christmas, there's just a bigger want for putting the word out. So that's an option too.
Well, if you're not sure where we're going.
Can we do something for June and that will get us some time to deal with this?
Well, what's the cost?
You'd have to be willing to say we'll cover and make it break even.
And I
Not knowing
think
what
that
that
would
break
be
even
pretty-
number is.
We do know what it is.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, we just don't know what the advertising revenue will be
Oh,
going
okay.
up to it. So the number itself is
The 85.
Oh, sorry.
for the smaller one.
For the smaller would be the 8,500.
And this is just the nature of printing. It's printed on a press in 16-page increments, so you can't do 17 pages, you have to do 16 or 32 or 64, so.
Can you do the Heritage Days one on the 16 page?
And it would probably be all Syracuse days.
Which in the past you've only taken 1 page for. We did get the Heritage Days basic skeleton schedule in the May issue. Just because we were contemplating whether this would come up and June was going to be up or not. So a skeleton will go out to residents with the issue.
And the history would show, Ryan, right, that if we said, yeah, let's make sure we get a June in there, we'd be looking at like 3,000 to 3,500. So, yeah, right.
Depending on that, because
With the additional.
we don't know what'll come out of the woodwork.
What's that?
With the additional 2,000 regular.
In addition to what we normally do.
Yeah, so we
This would be additional, right? If June is the same as May.
I don't have a clue. I don't know. I don't know what to do here.
I really think that the newsletter is important. I just do, I think the connection is important. I
But
think it's important.
I think I'm leaning towards biennial, but for this one, we do have the June as the whole.
It's hard to talk about this off of the back of the budget. I mean, this is.
yeah.
It is, not only that.
And
This
that's-
is really bad timing, okay?
Yeah, 'cause
Well, that's
think about
why
this,
this was
it's like-
put after the budget.
This is $2,800 make you get crossing guards.
The question is-
Stop signs, like,
The question is, how quickly can we get a digital effort up and running?
Digital would be quick.
So,
Met Kara?
well, I'm just asking. I have, but I want
I think you need to save June because it's Heritage.
And Heritage
Or
Day,
2 weeks.
you could also put.
I feel like this is one of those things that takes you from being a connected small town to being a Costco city. Is we're about to lose our magazine that keeps us a connected small town,
And give Costco.
which is,
Don't throw away the template, we might be back.
not a Army Corps doesn't even say that.
Any other suggestions for anybody else? I think at this point, all we can really do, given the budget discussion, is I think we've done the skeleton. I don't know that I don't know where I'm gonna cut from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So at this point, I would say we need to have a good, solid Heritage QR code that goes out on every social media thing. And we just have to bridge this gap until we can figure out a path forward.
I mean, for this June magazine, it's still this fiscal year. There's
But money spent this year, we could have rolled over to next year.
per one-time thing, right? That's not gonna pay your salaries. It's just one time of it.
Glad we got that.
I need one-time stop signs for crossing guards, so one time.
Are we shooting ourselves in the
that's-
foot if we don't do
that's
something in print for June, for Heritage Days?
I would probably recommend doing something in print, whether it goes out with the utility
Utility
bill.
bill.
We still have time to put it in the utility bill.
And that's for the people who get a physical utility bill.
And
Thanks
most
for looking out
are
for that,
getting a
Greg.
physical utility bill.
I-
I will say we do not have a lot of paperless. at
No,
this-
so like I rent and the company gets all of that. We don't get anything from the cities. And I know I'm not the only person in
You're
the
not
city.
the only
It's a
person.
big giant company that does this.
Yes, and so we'd also have some at City Hall we could pass out. We'd also send it out through social media. We would have a digital newsletter as well. I think if you go with the utility bill, I would probably recommend combining utility bill with a digital newsletter.
I think
I think anytime you get a QR code somewhere, you'll have a much, if you give someone
We can put that online.
super easy.
Cause I'm not, right, we're just on this stuff all.
I'm past that age, but I don't want to.
We get to change the QR
No,
code.
you're
I
not.
don't think we're getting very far,
I'm not gonna-
so I'm gonna move us on. Thank you. The last item on our agenda tonight is discussion regarding, locating a prisoner of war missing in action memorial table in Syracuse City Hall. This request comes from Jen. Go ahead and brief us on this.
So, Miss Jocelyn Williams contacted me. One of her platforms for the title that she holds is missing military prisoners of war, and she is trying to get a POW table in every city hall. And I believe Clearfield has one now, and I think Farmington is putting one in, and I think Roy either is getting one, but those are the only three that I know of. So it's very small. It's like very small, and with a chair, and it's very small, like less than 2 foot round table. There's a picture in there. And there's a spot over to the east of the entrance that doesn't really have anything in it, and doesn't have anything there. It's just a non-use space, and it would just take a small corner right there. On the, when you're coming in the left, going out the right. And so I don't know if the other ones are like a permanent, or if we just want to do one for like during the summer when there's a lot of
Isn't there a,
nationally recognized days.
if there's a nationally recognized day, I have no problem setting it up. I just know that if we set it up all the time, I mean,
It gets dusty and things like that. Yeah.
I think it looks worse if you don't,
Yeah.
I
And you put a
think,
white tablecloth on it, so it's gonna get dirty.
I think, but I do support having something, anytime you can support this, I'm in favor, but yeah, let's set it up.
I would think like maybe July 4th to, I don't know, September 11th would be my thought, but that's a long time to have it in the.
I was thinking maybe we ought to do it for the month of May for Memorial Day. So,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
you know, just do it that way you
But
wouldn't
that's
have
coming around the
to.
corner, and I gotta go get all this stuff donated, and you could have brought this up, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
It just makes sense to me that if we
It
do it
does.
for Memorial Day
Makes
and
the
the
most
month of, then,
Yeah,
I like that.
that's like a nice
and then
little
we take it down,
month of
because
attraction thing, yeah.
you can't leave it forever, it gets ignored.
It's, yeah, and then people
It
come
gets
trusting
gross,
to it.
and,
Great,
All right, yeah,
I'm
all
okay with that.
right, cool, I'll let her know.
Not a 2 foot.
what day is it?
It's like this big,
September.
like this big.
September 11th?
20th. So you could run it for-
Okay, so we could do it for the month of September, because there is a national day of September 20th for this. For National POWMIA.
That actually sounds better, because I think September 11th and all the things that go on in September, September's nice military month.
Well, school's in session, maybe you could tie it to some, talk about it in schools, and maybe kids would point it out or something. I don't know. It just-
Are you giving me extra tasks, Mr. Mayor?
No, if you'd like them. I was just,
He's not gonna send you in the talk school.
I already did that with the aircraft. I did one with the aircraft.
I'm okay with a month.
I did well,
I
thank you.
don't have
Good
a
job.
preference on which month.
I think September would be good.
Yeah, I'm okay. I think we can make that decision. But I do think that it's a
Yeah.
reasonable to do something like this.
Nice.
If you're okay, if we could return to item J, we do have that data.
okay, let's return to item J. Brody has some data
Oh,
for us.
and also they were unable to make it tonight. They got caught up. And so they wanted to reschedule for the farmer's market. And I don't know anything about the tax information they have, so I don't,
Okay,
that's above my pay grade.
we'll deal with that later. Brody?
This is just from a survey statewide of cities that are either going to pick up the over 10% or not going to.
Oh, that was bad.
The items, the ones in yellow are cities that are in our benchmark, just so they're highlighted for you.
They're all over the board.
Yeah, so that second column is the additional 2% for public safety. That third column is the general employee.
How about good city got aggressive with their vernacular?
So you see it, some are no, some are yes, and a lot are undecided. So that's kind of, yeah.
Weaver County got a little
How's
excessive.
that for good data?
So does this data change anything for anyone? We haven't really reached the decision.
So one consideration, and it's not a definitive, so I hesitate to even say it, but when we do our benchmark for those departments that are being benchmarked, if wage scales are going up in other cities, and this is part of that, then our benchmark study already puts that up in the study. You know what I'm saying?
With the wage scale increase.
But if it's just a additional like wage increase, but their pay scale doesn't change, then our study wouldn't pick that up. But I think, it's just hard to say, again, really muddy data. So it's just sort of kind of what we feel like is best.
And I'm seeing increased salary, proposing a stipend.
Yeah, and those are attempts by cities to cover the 0.7. You can't, the city can't pay URS that 0.7%, but you can pay the employee so the employee can pay it.
Yeah, I'm seeing several of these are actually doing wages, so we would be picking it up anyway.
Yeah, so I say, yeah, we just add it in anyway, because we're gonna have to raise it once we do the benchmarks anyhow. So if we already add that in,
So I think what they're saying is it's already included in the benchmark, because if they increase the salary to do it, and we pulled their salary, the 0.7 is already in there.
yeah, but
And it's
then,
gonna line up with our benchmark anyway.
yeah, but then we still have to cover 0.07 if we don't say, hey, that's what we're doing.
So
Or they have to
I
pay.
think you just say in the benchmark increase, you're saying this is included as part of that.
That may or may not be the case.
May or may not be agreed.
Because some of them aren't
Depending on-
doing it.
Well, because
This is politics in its finest right here. This list is, do you see South Ogden's loud no? No.
well, to be clear, they're on there
Not.
twice, and one is not, and one is.
Yeah, but the dates, look at the dates. Weber County got real loud, they're not also.
So I guess all of our benchmark cities are blank as to how they're planning to implement it. So that doesn't help us.
Well, Roy says they will not pick it up.
Roy says they won't, but they're, but
Layton is picking up public safety, but undecided on general employees. And, Kaysville is undecided on public safety, but likely will, and then undecided on general.
How do you feel about that, attorney? Like when you could say, we're gonna
We like
Pick up-
public safety people.
pick up for public safety, but not all the other employees?
He's armed. I like it.
Yeah, he's all right.
Okay,
He
so
probably ain't pulled that big in years.
it doesn't seem like this has moved the needle on that discussion. So, it's great that we shared that.
the data's inconclusive, that's the problem.
It is more data.
It is more data, it's a lot more data.
Garbage in, garbage out.
On the wall and throw a dart.
It's good data, it's just not very.
Rest
helpful.
assured, they're all in the same boat as us.
It's not fluid.
Yeah.
Okay, so I made a comment earlier that I was
Divided with
concerned
us.
about the size of government, related to, the size of cities. And I just want to follow up with this comment, not that this affects your budget decision, but when we start comparing ourselves to other cities, we have to be careful that we're comparing ourselves to similar cities, because half the cities in the county don't even have a third of the employees that we have. So I'm just saying, and my point there is not that my point is some of them are not comparable. Like I get lots of really loud comments out of Fruit Heights, and then I look and I see that they only have 8 employees. They're not a city like us. So anything they tell me about whether this is a good situation for me is not really relevant. That's my point. And so we do need to start comparing ourselves when we talk budget and needs and what other cities are doing to cities that are actually somewhat like us. I know we like our neighbors to the north, but do you realize that West Point only has 17 employees in their entire city? That's not like Syracuse. You just cannot say that what they do is like what we do.
Well, they don't have a fire department or a police
Or
department
police
either.
department,
so-
or, you know, but again, they're not like us. They don't face the same challenges we do.
Yeah, we have a secondary water system.
Yeah,
Not all
they
cities
don't.
do.
We do have, I mean, I'm happy with where we're at. I'm just saying that we have to make sure we're comparing apples to apples. That's my point. I brought it up. I wanted to follow through with that. Other than that,